Hello and good evening. Today it is Monday, May 4th, 2020, and for this video today I will be sharing my thoughts on the Cleveland Browns' new and, as far as I'm concerned, much needed uniforms for the 2020 season that they will be wearing going forward. And personally, am I ever glad to see Cleveland finally look like the Browns again? Geez, as far as I'm concerned, they should have never gone away from their classic uniform style at all. So, what I'm going to do for this video today, and for you regular viewers watching this video, I'm going to be attempting a little bit of a new format with this video today. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by doing a quick review of the uniforms that you see here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell everybody that I'm done with that review, and then I'm going to move into the more detailed portion of the video for anybody who wants to stick around for that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start by saying this. The fact that Cleveland has gone back to looking like the Browns again was long overdue, and something that, as far as I'm concerned, the Browns should have never changed. I mean, their color scheme is unique, and they've always had a classic traditional uniform design until 2014 came along, and 2015 came along, and they decided to trash their uniforms. I mean, here, let's take a quick trip down memory lane. This is what we've been stuck looking at for the Cleveland Browns for the past 5 years. 5 NFL seasons, and I'm sorry, these uniforms are garbage. They were always garbage. I mean, they went from having some of the absolute most classic uniforms in football to going with this collegiate Nike-inspired crap, or Nike-made crap, I mean. Word marks on the pants, big ugly word marks on the top above the numbers, which I heard at one point they were even considering putting dog pound on the front. And then they got these drop-shadowed numbers. And on the brown jersey, it had orange stitching throughout the jersey, and those hideous flywire collars to boot. I mean, if I were looking at these uniforms as a potential redesign, I'd say get out of my office. I wouldn't even have to think before canning these uniforms. Yet the Cleveland Browns went with them and wore them for a bunch of years. I mean, look at the word marks on the pants. Are you kidding me? So they go away from some of the most absolutely gorgeous uniforms in the entire NFL to looking like that. So them going back to this traditional classic Browns design, for the most part, in my opinion, was long overdue and something they should have never changed in the first place. So I'm just so beyond happy with the Cleveland Browns right now. I don't even care about their all monochromatic brown alternate uniform. I'm just so happy that the Browns have gone back to looking like the Browns again. I noticed with the pants here, the brown pants here on the white uniform you see here, that there's no white stripe between the orange stripes. I hope that when the season starts, that's not going to be the case, where it'll be orange, white, orange for the striping on the pants. But besides that, their away uniform looks perfect with either all white or with brown pants. And as for the new home uniform, that is the perfect Browns uniform in my opinion. But as for their new alternate uniform, they basically took their Color Rush uniform and removed all of the striping off of it. And I'm sorry, folks, it just looks too damn plain. It's, for a game or two every year, do I think it's going to be totally terrible? Well, personally, I don't think it's extremely terrible. It's definitely better than the home uniform they've had for the past 5 years. But this uniform is just too plain. It looks like an all-brown monochromatic practice uniform. And hopefully the Browns are only going to very sparingly use that uniform. If they only wear it for a maximum of 2 games a year, I can live with it. But honestly, I wish that the Browns would have just had a home uniform and an away uniform. Or they should have just retained their color rush uniform that they had. There was nothing wrong with it as an alternate uniform to wear once or twice a season, even though I still think that if you're going to do orange on brown, there should be white there between the orange and the brown for contrast. And I'm not happy that the Browns have still elected on insisting that orange on brown, as you can see here, that they insist that it's doable. Is it doable? Yeah, but I just don't think it works. But am I ever happy to see that Cleveland has just gone back to looking like the Browns again? I mean, I don't even care that they have a new, slightly modernized number font. I mean, they've got traditional socks again. And here's a note that I hope other teams like the Tennessee Titans and the Atlanta Falcons take notes from. I hope they can take notes from the Browns on how to do socks properly. That is how you have nice socks in football. And I hope more teams will start to revive sock stripes. That is something that needs to come back. But anyways, guys, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to call it a wrap on the quick simplified review portion of this video. And at the 7-minute mark in about 10 seconds, I'm going to then move on to the more detailed portion of my thoughts on the uniform. So for anybody not interested in this video, I'm done with the simple review. I'm now going to go into the more into further detail from here on in. So if you don't want to hear that part of the video, I totally understand. But from here, I'm now going to go into a more detailed review of their uniforms. So here is where I'm going to begin. And the first thing I want to talk about is the helmet. Even though I think the helmet is fine and it still looks like a classic Browns helmet, this is where I start to really nitpick, because for myself, there is one thing about the classic Cleveland Browns uniform that I do miss, and it's this. I miss the old paint job on their helmet. Notice how now it's a flatter satin orange paint finish, where before it was more of a classic gloss style paint. I miss this style helmet. I mean, I can live with the new helmet that they've had for the past 5 years. I think it's totally fine. But I do miss this paint finish on the Browns helmets that they used to have before Nike ruined their uniforms initially. So that's one thing about their uniforms that I wish they would fix. Now, going back to the Color Rush uniform here. Now, was this uniform a terrible alternate uniform? In my opinion, it wasn't. Now, it obviously helped that their last uniforms were so damn bad that, well, this was by far and away the best uniform they had. But you know, if the Browns would have brought this back without the word mark between the number and the NFL shield on the collar, and wore this uniform with orange socks like they were doing last season, to me that would have been a great alternate uniform to wear for a game or two every year. But also notice what I mean about the satin finish on the helmet. It still looks good, but I don't like it as much as I like the old paint job on their helmets. And another thing, I think I would have preferred if they would have had even white face masks like they used to have, or even gray. But yeah, I mean, seeing the Browns go with a new number font for this uniform and removing all striping off of it, in my opinion, was a bad choice. And I'm really disappointed that the Browns did that. But for a game or two every year, I'm just so grateful that they've gone back to the classic Browns look. I can live with it. So, what else will I get to here? Here's a final celebratory look at their hideous old uniforms and how bad they really were. I mean, the Browns word mark on the pants. Who thought that was a good idea? Who approved that? And then these collegiate-looking uniforms. Where's another photo here? and the striping going all the way along the chest area. What a horrible looking set of uniforms the Browns used to have. Thank you, Cleveland, for listening to the fans and listening to their alumni and changing and going back to what the Browns are supposed to look like. Thank you, Cleveland. Now, what was I going to say? Okay, I'll go over to here. So notice that the number and letter font on their jerseys are slightly modernized and not the traditional block font that they used to have. I would have preferred a block font for the letters and numbers on their jerseys instead of a new altered font. But I will say this, I can live with it. And even with a new, more modernized number font, it's still, they look like the classic Cleveland Browns uniforms that we all know. And I know not everybody loves brown, but I think that the Browns have done a wonderful job over the years of being brown and orange and owning a unique color scheme that nobody else has. And the striping on the sleeves looks amazing, and I'm glad they brought it back. Now, also note the new hanger effect that says 1946 inside the collar. I love that. That's a nice little touch that the Browns did, and I think it was actually a really good move on their part. Something interesting I do want to quickly acknowledge, too, is that one of the owners of the Cleveland Browns recently mentioned that a lot of fans have brought to his attention the orange pants that they used to wear. I want to give my absolute tip of the hat to the ownership of the Browns for acknowledging the fans and looking into trying to bring an orange pant option back for the Browns. I really hope they do. Now, do I want the Browns to do what they did in, I believe, the 1980s and wear orange pants all the time? Personally, I definitely don't. But if the Browns wore a pair of orange pants, this style here, with their home and away uniforms for at least about 2 or 3 games a season per uniform, I think most of us could agree that that would be a nice looking uniform option. The orange pants I've always liked. It's when they wear them all the time compared to their classic white pants or brown pants for their white uniform. That's when I don't like them as much. Now, with the Browns, they do have a brown pant option to wear with their away uniform, their white uniform. And the thing is that I do hope that they don't start thinking of wearing monochrome brown with their home uniform. If they do that once a year with contrasting socks, I can live with that. But I don't want to see the Browns start doing that regularly. And I have a bit of a concern that they may actually look into possibly wanting to do that. Let's see what else here. So yeah, I mean, the Browns, they really do look like the Browns again for the most part. And guys, seriously, I can live with this. Is it not? It's not exactly what I wanted. I wanted the Browns to go back to the old gloss helmets instead of the satin finished helmets, but I'm fine with it. I am just grateful they've gone back to a traditional look. They've brought back their classic sock striping. They've brought back their classic uniform design. Even though I prefer simple classic block font, I can live with this once again. I've actually heard rumblings about the Browns bringing out an orange uniform this year as another alternate, but I wouldn't hold my breath on that. Is it possible? Sure. It would actually be nice to see a team do a surprise unveiling of a uniform for a change instead of unveiling everything at once. Would I like to see the Browns bring back an orange jersey? Truth is, I would. I mean, I'd like the idea of the Browns wearing orange once or twice a season. But even if they don't, I'm okay with it. But I do tip my hat to the Browns ownership for looking into maybe bringing in an orange pant option to wear with their home and away jerseys. And truth is, I'd like to see the Browns at least attempt to wear their new alternate uniform without monochrome brown, even with orange socks or the brown pants you see here, which I'm hoping. The thing I'm concerned about is the Browns possibly bringing these pants out without the white stripe between the two orange stripes. They need that white stripe to be so it's a perfect flip of the white pants, and that would look way better. But yeah, I mean, I would prefer block fonts for the letters and numbers on the jerseys and the older gloss style helmets, but I can live with these. See, huge shout out, in my opinion, a huge shout out is definitely deserved for the Browns because they listened to us fans. They, in my opinion, are these perfect? No, not entirely. But even with my pickiness and my picky detailed review, I still think these uniforms are awesome. They look like the Browns again. And that to me is what is most important at the end of the day. So thank you, Cleveland, for listening to us fans. I will say this, though. I did hear a rumor that the Browns were supposedly contemplating a white helmet instead of orange. Thank you for not listening to that. Thank you for not doing that, because the Browns don't look right without the orange helmets. Now, I know white helmets are a part of their distant past, but still. This is the proper Browns look. It is. And there is one more thing that people have talked about that I do agree with. I do think it would be nice to see Cleveland have a logo. Not just their helmet as a logo, but an actual proper formal logo. Now, do I want a bulldog on their helmets? No. But I think it would be nice to see some type of Brownie the Elf logo on their helmets, or even some type of C for Cleveland. Something. I agree with people. It is time for the Browns to get a logo that's not just their stinking helmet. But one more thing I do want to acknowledge before I wrap up this video here today. I actually would like to see the Browns bring this jersey back, even to only wear once a year. That's a uniform that, even though I would never want to see it anywhere near as often as these, for even one game a year, I think it would be nice to see that uniform or a flip of these ones with the new updated number and lettering fonts brought in. I think that would be nice. And truth is, I would have rather seen that than this new stripeless color rush uniform that they've brought in, or as I call it, a color rash. But anyways, overall, my goodness, Cleveland, why did you ever go away from your classic look? This looks great. They absolutely nailed this redesign, in my opinion. And on that note, guys, I'd love to hear what other people think about the Browns' new uniforms. But on that note, guys, I'm going to call it a wrap for today. I hope all of you have enjoyed this video if you stuck around for the more detailed review and my thoughts on the uniforms. And until my next video, you guys take care, and as usual, bye for now.